All in Sports Network. We love sports.
It is Thursday, May 1st. In the words of Justin Timberlake, it's gonna be May. Today we are going to be diving deep into, I don't get the thumbs down. Come on, that was pretty good.
I need a boo on my soundboard.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and dive deep into the Texas baseball and softball series, both the Arkansas series in Fayetteville.
It's supposed to be cricket sounds. I don't think it came through very good.
I hear it. I don't know if it's coming through the mic, but I hear it. But anyway, and then we'll also break down the softball Kentucky series to end the regular season going into postseason play as well. So without further ado, Jake, excited about these series. Texas coming off of a clean sweep. They've won 9 straight games. They're coming off of 2 straight sweeps. Actually, probably, I don't even know the Prairie View score. Jake, have you seen an update on the Prairie View score? I know this is technically Friday. We're recording it the night of the Prairie View game on Wednesday. So once we get that information,
sometimes I blank on these Tuesday night games, just like the team does, unless it's,
sure,
a notable team.
Yeah, it happens.
Texas won 11-2.
11-2.
Did not run roll
No.
for whatever that's worth, but did take care of business, which is really all I care about. I mean, as we have seen over and over,
Tuesday,
the value of these Tuesday night games is ridiculously low.
So fact check me. Texas coming in on a 10-game winning streak, not a 9-game winning streak, following the Prairie View A&M game on Tuesday night. So 2 straight sweeps in the SEC, undefeated in SEC series play for the Texas Longhorns going into Fayetteville. Maybe the hardest competition, Jake, maybe the toughest series they've faced so far.
I know LSU. Even though it's at home, I mean, LSU's number 2 in the country right now, I believe, in the new updated polls. And that first game against LSU, they lost 8-2 and looked outclassed and had me going, yep, Texas isn't quite there. I think there was an article on I think it was Inside Texas that was just like, Texas isn't ready.
Yeah.
And then luckily ended up not looking very good for that article or for how I was feeling in my head, but
aged like hot milk.
But this is by far their toughest road
series.
There we go. I blanked. Road series in the SEC. I mean, the next hardest was probably Kentucky, who's a pretty solid squad, but Arkansas a lot better than Kentucky. Though Arkansas is kind of skidding as of late, because what is skidding in the SEC in baseball? Losing to really good teams is what that is. Because Arkansas had a couple series. They did lose the series to A&M recently, which kind of, and then did just drop a series to Florida. So have lost their last 3 series. They lost to Georgia, won one game 13-3, and then lost 2 really close games that were 1 score. So that's a tough one where you outscore your opponent in the series, but badly, and still lose the series. A&M lost one somewhat competitive game, lost the 3rd game 9-2, won 11-5 in the middle of it. And then Florida, lost 2 fairly competitive games, won 1 game 7-0. So they do have some dominant wins in each of these series, but they have dropped their last 3 series, albeit to good teams. They were at Florida. They did lose the one to A&M at home, and then at Georgia. So 2 of those series on the road. Florida, probably the worst series loss out of all of those for sure. But this is a big series because Arkansas is going to be starving for a series win. In Texas, this is going to be their biggest road test by far. Fayetteville, I don't know if you've watched any Arkansas baseball. No. The environment is incredible. And I would definitely suggest watching the games this weekend because the environment there is amazing. They have people lined out the stadium way before the game begins. And it's going to be a true SEC environment for Texas.
Well, this is also going to be a 1-2 matchup within the SEC standings. Texas sitting atop the SEC standings at 19-2 in the conference, 37-5 overall. Again, riding that 10-game winning streak coming into this one. They're 9-1 on the road, 23-3 at home, whereas Arkansas, again, Jake just naming off their schedule recently, dropping to 14-7. So Texas holding a 5-game advantage in the conference over Arkansas. But that is their magic number, is that number 5. And so we'll get into that a little bit later on this week as well. But Arkansas also playing more games than Texas. Overall, they have the same amount of wins. They just also have more losses on their schedule. Arkansas has played 4 more games than Texas. They're 46 to Texas is 42. So when we go through these stats, Jake, here in a little
3
bit,
less now.
Well, 3 less.
Yeah, and then the Prairie View A&M game.
Yeah. And so we're going to go by the numbers of where this Texas team and where this Arkansas team matches up. The numbers may surprise you a little bit because the numbers don't match the records, whereas Arkansas probably, actually not probably, does dominate Texas in terms of where they rank in the nation in a lot of these statistics. But again, baseball is a funny sport where it only comes down to a couple of plays in a game that is a turning point and a couple at bats. And Texas has been better than any team in the country when it comes to situational baseball and making big plays when they matter the most and coming away with a victory. So, again, Texas with a 5-game advantage in the conference going into this one. And this Texas-Arkansas game, by the numbers, team batting average, Arkansas at number 9 in the country, batting 320, and Texas 99th in the country, batting 289. So a pretty significant gap there between the batting averages. But Arkansas, again, like you were naming off some of their scores, they have big bat potential on the offense.
Yeah, and does hold a little bit of advantage just kind of in, like you said, the home runs. The slugging percentage, actually, Arkansas is 6th in the country. I like looking at, now that I understand what slugging percentage is, hand up, didn't know what that meant before this year.
Well, I thought it was the same. I thought it was the same thing as home runs and slugging. What would be the difference?
They do kind of run together. But yeah, slugging percentage being just all, extra base hits, kind of figuring into it. How exactly the formula works out, I don't know, but that's fine. I think it's extra base hits as a percentage of your total hits is, I think it is. If someone knows exactly what it is, drop it in. But I do know at least what it has to do with, and that's what matters. We're learning here. We have self-admitted not knowing a ton about baseball. But yeah, Arkansas, again, a little bit more of a stat darling than Texas.
Correct.
But as we have said a couple times on this podcast, is this Texas baseball team is greater than the sum of their parts. In the fact of being, they just find ways. Whether it be getting the big home run when they need it, getting the big extra base hit, scoring just enough runs, kind of like in the A&M series.
Yep.
The offense struggled in 2 games, but then when the offense had to score more runs, they scored more runs. They find ways to do it. And that all while being pretty banged up this entire season.
We're going to give a little bit of an injury update as well once we kind of go through some of these numbers. Big one, Jake, team ERA. That's obviously one of the more important stats. Texas number 2 in the country from their pitching staff. They are about 3.1, 3.09 in the country when it comes to earned run average. And then Arkansas, though, number 13 in the country at 3.8 runs a game. So should be a pretty good pitching battle, I would think. But in college baseball, a pitching duel can turn into a slugfest in a matter of an inning.
Yeah. One thing I will say too about like the home runs on this, when I think about it, baseball's funky where you have to figure in the ballpark too. Because Texas is a hard ballpark to hit home runs at. Especially depending on how the wind is going. Just kind of something I thought of while you were talking, but other than LSU, I think this is by far the toughest test Texas has had yet. In Auburn, Georgia, might be better teams, but with this being on the road and being kind of a chance, and we'll talk about this more tomorrow as well, but kind of being a chance to wrap up the SEC. If they win this series, they would have to really plummet the last two series to not win the SEC. Quite frankly, if they get swept in this series, they still have a decent chance to win. And so they just really, they need to win one game in this series to feel really good about their chances of winning that regular season SEC title, which is an incredible spot to be in.
What a spot to be in when it comes to year one in the SEC, where the SEC has, it feels like 12 teams ranked in the top 25 at any given point throughout this year. And they had 8 of the top 10 going into the beginning of the season. So yeah, it just, what an incredible feat that it would be for Texas to come out on top of this conference, really with some cushion.
Yeah. I mean, and when you talk about those rankings, the only reason it's still not 8 of the top 10 is because you just beat up on each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's kind of what's happened. That's why in Arkansas is 14-7 in conference play. And LSU is 14-7 in conference play.
It's going to be fun come regionals and super regionals when these teams are out of conference. And if anything follows like it has in previous years, the College World Series is going to be mostly SEC teams with a couple others sprinkled in. Because that is what it has been over the last several years. Irvine thrown in there, a couple of those.
Yeah, Virginia.
Cool. Yeah,
I always like to think of a Coastal Carolina making it. They are ranked this year. Good team.
They are ranked.
I've been to a Coastal Carolina baseball game on a bachelor party over in Myrtle, and it was cool. They had the championship trophy in a case and stuff. So I always kind of like Coastal Carolina, but yeah, it's an SEC party in the World Series typically, which, by the way, I don't live very far from Omaha. If Texas makes Omaha, I will be going to Omaha, and I can report from the grounds there.
Yeah.
If they don't go, I still might go.
Yeah. Boots on the ground. Jake Jimerson, sideline reporter.
Went boots on the ground in Fayetteville with those nasty people.
Yeah, you did. You had to fight through the muck of the Fayetteville faithful there in Arkansas. So, but yeah, Jake, I mean, here, without going into too much, number puke here, Arkansas leads Texas in these statistical categories: team batting average, team fielding percentage, team hits, home runs, on base percentage, and runs. Arkansas number 4 in the country with runs. Again, that's 4 more games played than Texas, but the difference does not make up 4 games. I can tell you that much. 426 to Texas's 311. But like you said, Texas has their home stadium, Jake, is not a batter-friendly stadium by any means. And so Texas has to constantly kind of overcome those obstacles when it comes to their bats. Now, their ERA and their fielding percentages in terms of their defense are always, or this season have been, top of the country.
Yeah. And, another weird thing with baseball, some of that is if you look at Arkansas's runs in SEC play, they do have some games where they score a good amount of runs. But I mean, against Missouri, they had 21 runs in one game, 14 in another, 16 in another. Kind of props up your stats a little bit, especially when you combine
their stat merchants.
Yeah, especially when you combine a non-conference schedule where they also racked up a ton of runs against not very good teams. Also racked up a bunch of runs against South Carolina. So sometimes that is where stats can be misleading. In all sports, but especially baseball, when you're looking at a stat like runs and you're scoring 20 points against really bad teams. But what does that matter if you're averaging 3 to 4 against the better teams? It doesn't matter much. Texas softball is a bit of an example of that, with their batting average being so high, but they have been a very bad offensive team against the top competition in the SEC. I'm not saying that's what Arkansas is. They are a good offensive team. But I do think some of those offensive stats swinging so much towards the Arkansas side are kind of deceiving, whereas Texas has been a pretty consistent scoring team regardless of the competition.
Jake, Texas is still looking to stay undefeated when it comes to SEC series. They haven't dropped an SEC series yet this season. However, it'll be kind of a awakening for the pitching rotation. Ruger Riojas is going to step into that ace position for Jared Spencer after that season-ending UCL injury. Luke Harrison probably in that 2 spot. I'm curious if that's going to kind of fluctuate a little bit. You know, you got Jason Flores maybe coming in on Saturday as that starter on the 3rd game of the weekend. Jake, any possible changes this week to the starting lineup? Possibly Cade Bing, Max Grubbs, Grayson Sonder, or Sonier. What do we think about where the pitching is, especially with the Jared Spencer out for the season? I think Riojas has kind of solidified that ace spot on Thursdays and Fridays to start the series off. But you think this coaching staff at this point in the season is still tinkering?
They may tinker some. I still feel like it's probably mostly solidified. It just kind of, it's just hard to imagine what they're going to change too much because they don't have as many depth options with a Jared Spencer gone.
Yeah.
So I do imagine it mostly staying the same. I think we're pretty aware now of the key bullpen arms as well.
Right.
A Grubbs, a Volantis, those guys being your key guys to come out and get you out of a bind, kind of carry the rest of the game. We've seen them do that. And that is what this Texas staff has really good is if the starting pitching does, struggle for a game, they've had the bullpen to kind of back that up. And so I don't think they're as concerned with who's starting. It's more so managing that bullpen throughout the series because they've done a good job of having at least 2 of their starters have really good outings pretty much every weekend to where if a starter does get hurt or does need to come out a little bit earlier because of a high pitch count, not having as good of an outing, they have someone in relief who can kind of pitch an extended amount of time. And so that's kind of the key is at this point for Texas, having at least 2 of your starters for the weekend continuing to pitch really well. And so far it hasn't been an issue, but this is going to be a little bit different of a test, especially as we've said before on the road.
Yeah. And then lastly, Jake, before we jump over to the softball side of things, let's talk a little injury news. Jonah Williams was questionable last week against Texas A&M. Curious on his availability. They haven't released anything in terms of
hamstring,
it being upgraded to probable or anything of that. But hamstring injury. Again, that can be a couple-week injury. He may be out until postseason play. Now, Max Bailu, Jake, hoping for his return. Last I heard, final regular season series against Oklahoma. So not this one, not Florida, but Max Bailu might be back into the lineup at least by the end of the regular season against Oklahoma, which would be huge.
Yeah, it sounds like if not Oklahoma, at least the SEC tournament is the hope. And so he would be a huge addition to get before. I mean, he was your best hitter, one of your best players, if not your best player.
I mean, I think he was hitting at the 3 spot, was he not? 3 or 4?
Yeah, the 3 or 4. And I mean, he's your big home run hitter. I think had the highest batting average on the team as well. And so a guy that if you told me he was going to be out for the season, before the season, most of the season, once you got into SEC play, I was like, oh, it's going to be a long SEC season. For this team to be where they're at, it's incredible. I keep thinking maybe the injuries will catch up to them and they just keep winning. Just keep shutting me up. And I'm not even predicting them to lose series, predicting them to go 2-1 in series, and they just keep sweeping.
Yeah. Speaking of prediction, Jake, you want to throw one out before we move to softball?
Yeah, I'm not going to pick against them. When my teams perform for me, I don't jump ship. I dive all in. When they give me a reason to be optimistic, I'm optimistic. And so I'm going to take Texas to win the series. I'm going to predict 2-1 again. Maybe this is a trend, but Arkansas seems to be pretty consistent at having one game where they dominate. Yeah. Granted, Kentucky was consistent at finding one game they would win when they were losing series. But I do think Texas makes a statement. I think this team will go in knowing that this series carries a lot of weight because you have a chance, as we'll talk about tomorrow, to kind of almost wrap up the SEC, but also to be like, we don't care whether we play on the road or at home. It doesn't make a difference. And I think this team probably, I'm sure Schlossnagel's letting them know some of the noise out there about, oh, they're saying you have an easy schedule despite beating multiple top 10 teams.
Yeah.
And kind of using that as some fuel to the fire.
Jake, I'm going to say a 2-1 series win for Texas as well. I think game 1 is actually going to be the lowest scoring of the games. I think game 2, Arkansas comes up and has one of their, big run outings. And then actually, no, I'm going to reverse that. I think game 2, Texas wins a high scoring game, but both teams putting up some runs. And then game 3, Arkansas takes game 3. And they outscore Texas by, I don't know, 4 or 5 runs, something along those lines. But
yeah. I'll go the opposite. I think Texas wins game 1, wins game 3, or maybe wins games 2 and 3. I definitely think they win 3 though. You don't lose on Sundays.
Yeah, no, don't lose on Sundays. But that is true. Texas has had a very good. They're undefeated on Sundays, are they not?
Yes, yeah. And Arkansas struggled a little bit on those third games. Okay. A lot of their wins have come in the first couple games of the series.
Well, maybe they'll be well. Texas doesn't play Sunday, Jake. That's the thing. They start Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, we said that about the A&M series. And granted, Arkansas they did lose to A&M, but probably a better squad right now than A&M. But yeah, I'm not going to pick against this Texas team until they give me a reason to.
No, I think the streak of SEC series wins continues when we come back on Monday to discuss and break down what we saw over the weekend, both in Texas and baseball and softball. Speaking of softball, Jake, let's go ahead, run through these numbers. Our thoughts on the softball series. It shouldn't take too long, considering where Kentucky is sitting at 12th in the SEC. Texas sitting at number 4 in the SEC, despite getting swept by OU last weekend and then losing their series against Tennessee the week before that. So they have lost 5 of their last 6 in conference play, and they've got Kentucky on the docket this weekend to end conference play in the regular season and get into the postseason. I think this is going to be, I know we're not on predictions yet, this is almost feels like a must sweep situation for Texas, not just a must win series, but a must sweep and look pretty good, feel pretty confident coming out of this series.
This is a must dominate sweep with how they've looked over, even in the series win against LSU. It didn't feel like they were playing as good as they should.
But I will take a sloppy win over an LSU team over,
for sure. But again, it's all in the eyes of what the expectations are, right? And so for the expectations for this team, especially when you're coming off a loss at home to Tennessee, still wanted to see them look better in that LSU series. And so the OU series was a complete flop. Didn't even look competitive at times. Obviously battled back, but the defense kind of faltered some. The pitching kind of faltered some, which was even more disappointing when you consider they've been a better defensive team than offensive team, regardless of what the numbers say. But yeah, this feels like not only a must sweep. I mean, they need to dominate this series. Kentucky's not very good. Dropping a game to me would be a huge disappointment.
I agree. And Jake, Texas in every one of those statistical categories, team batting average, team ERA, fielding percentage, hits, home runs, on base percentage, runs. Texas softball is a top 25 team, whereas Kentucky doesn't crack the top 25 in any of those categories. In fact, they're ranked number 42 is their highest ranking out of any of those categories. And they're ranked number 42 in home runs with 56 compared to Texas's 67. So again, this should be a dominant series that Texas loads up and get some confidence back going into postseason play. But yeah, that's about all we've got. Kentucky, again, 12th in the SEC. They've lost 4 they've lost their last 4 SEC series. Texas, again, losing 2 straight to OU and to Tennessee, but not a whole lot to talk about when it comes to softball in this series, just other than it needs to look dominant. It needs to be dominant. It needs to be a season sweep or a series sweep. going into the SEC tournament. And that's really all it comes down to for this Texas-Kentucky series.
Yeah, even dropping one game could hurt them in the rankings, to be honest. And so, yeah, it's a must sweep because at this point, I haven't seen the updated rankings yet, but I imagine OU series hurt rather significantly when you consider the manner of which they lost. And so, luckily with baseball, with softball, sports, every sport is like this where you get hot at the right time, just like Ohio State losing to Michigan. And then all of a sudden they get hot at the right time. Dallas Stars going 0-7 at the end of the season. Haven't won a series yet, but I think have been much better, much more competitive than anyone would have guessed after in an 0-7. So it's not necessarily about how the regular season finishes. It's about how you play come the postseason.
I'm going to preface that by saying they played Thursday. This is Friday's recording. They could have won the series by now.
Hopefully have won the series by now. And so, yeah, hopefully I didn't just put some bad juju out in the world, but yeah, all that to just not trying to do cross sport references just to bring the Stars up. But I'm just saying you can be not playing your best ball or puck at the end of a regular season, and then it all comes together at the right time. And this Texas team certainly has the talent to do it. But right now would be a great time to start when you got an opponent that you should be able to just clobber, quite frankly.
All right, that's going to do it for today's episode, Jake. That is our series previews episode for Texas baseball taking on Arkansas and softball taking on Kentucky this weekend. Again, those are Thursday through Saturday series, not Friday through Sunday. So don't start on Friday thinking that you're going to get game one. No, you'll be jumping into game two of that series as well. And you got a free Sunday to go do whatever it is that you need to get done, taken care of over the weekend. And we will be joining you as well. So for Jake Jimerson, I'm Tanner Carlson. Thank you for the support, the likes, the shares, and the subscriptions. Please spread the word. We were talking about it before. Not sure of a whole lot of Longhorn broadcasts that are really going in depth with baseball and softball analysis. And now we may not be the number one or two guys to be talking about it, but we are covering it. So
we're trying.
We're doing our best. And so if you are a Texas baseball, Texas softball fan, or you've got friends that are Texas softball and baseball fans, you can get all your daily content right here on All In Horns. That's Jake Jimerson. I'm Tanner Carlson. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, hook 'em.
All In Sports Network. We love sports.